Izotope is a proud sponsor of today's episode. Do you know about their new RX12? This is the way to make your audio flawless, all-in-one audio restoration. RX's 50-plus tool ecosystem is everything you need to rescue, refine, and enhance every project. Blending surgical control with rapid results. Fully flexible, RX12 includes a standalone audio editing application and suite of software plugins to use in digital audio workstations. For decades, RX has pushed what's possible in audio editing and restoration, bringing out magic in every scene, song, and story. Powered by pioneering machine learning tech, it's the supporting star behind countless Oscar, Grammys, Emmys, and the winner of a Technical Academy Award. Go get this for yourself. Izotope RX12. It's out. IZOTPE.com. Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too.
Well, it's okay if it's not big, and it's kind of cool, and you just do what you can, and it's making a difference. And in the end, like, we kind of made this community. Like, I've got all these friends now that, you know, from bands and things. And I can go around and, like, every now and then someone will walk up to me and go, "Oh yeah, I missed those shows. Are you ever going to do it?" And, like, you just don't even know that. Yeah, you're raising some bucks and putting on some shows, but you're also building a community.
What's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into Hyphenate. This is our show for Thursday, July 30th. On today's show, I'm happy to welcome my good friend, Mr. Martin Kendall Wong, to the show. He's going to be closing out our third season. Next week, we'll be starting fourth year of this big bad voodoo podcast. Martin is awesome, and I'm so glad he's here to help send year 3 into the history books. I've known Martin for a bunch of years. I knew him as a fan. I was a fan of his magazine, Giant Robot. I mean, a big fan. It was crazy to get to know him socially as the years went on. He, we got to know each other through music and through, playing shows, and he's the best friend and fan you could ever have. If you're in a band and Martin likes your band, count yourself in the lucky column. You were in the winning column, because Martin is incredible, and he comes to shows, and he's always so much fun, and he and Wendy, his wife, are just so supportive. He's also the father of Eloise Wong, who is the bass player and singer, vocalist in the Linda Lindas, and I've worked with him on a bunch of Linda Lindas things. I think they had asked me to do kind of a cameo vocal part in a chorus of a song about voting, but there was a lot of other people who were much more celebrated and more famous than I was doing that thing, but I thought that was nice. It was during the pandemic when everything was sort of closed down and when nobody was going anywhere. I just self-recorded myself on the iPhone singing about voting, getting out the vote, and it's awesome. It's been such a pleasure getting to hang with Martin, and he's a big part of our Operation Creative Freedom, where we do the murals and play music for the kids, and Eloise plays in the band as well, and Martin and Wendy are just all around super supportive, incredible, generous, just the best. So thank you, Martin, for coming on. I hope everybody enjoys this. We're going to go down the road. We're going back to the 90s, back to magazines, back to the world of Giant Robot. And then we fast forward through time and get to now, too. But it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I was a huge fan of, for those of you who don't know Giant Robot, it was this awesome cultural tastemaker of a magazine in the 90s that focused on, Asian American culture or Asian culture, but the way it was sort of cool and, skateboarding, art, music, film, It was fun. It was cool. It was such a great magazine that just covered all the same things I was already into through stuff like X Large or Grand Royale magazine and, Thrasher and Slap and all the stuff that I was reading. And it was just like, whoa, this Giant Robot magazine's rad. It just seemed like I was all the, cutting edge. All the cool stuff was there. That's how I was learning about cool bands and cool filmmakers and cool photographers and fashion and all the cool stuff. It was all in Giant Robot. So it was super fun to get to go down memory lane with Martin about this, and I get to geek out and I get to be a fan of his, which is always fun. Which is the best part of doing this podcast. I get to be a fan. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening and supporting us all here at Hyphenate Podcast for 3 years. Here we go. We're going to kick off year 4 next week. It's been super great. You can write me hyphenate@gmail.com. You can find me on the Instagram at Randy S. Randall. For Martin, you can follow Martin. His account on Instagram is private. We make a joke about it here in the episode, but it's at Martin Kendall Wong, DALL, like Randall, but Kendall Wong. And then you can also follow him on his WordPress, or you can check out the WordPress by martinwong.wordpress.com. Yeah, you'll see more from Martin, more coming from Martin in the future. All right. Now, without further ado, here is our interview. Okay. So wait, No Age was reviewed in Giant Robot. I've never saw this issue. I wish I knew.
I'll try to find it. I have a whole set on a shelf somewhere. I'll see if I can find it.
I'll try to find one on eBay, or at least maybe there's a scan of it online.
Well, I could just take a picture of it for you. No, that's the good thing about technology.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Incredible. So, there's a lot to go through there, but I'm curious, where did you grow up? So, even going back further before Giant Robot, where did you grow up and how did you first get into music and art and film and everything?
I grew up actually in Orange County, like Disneyland.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually had a job there. I was a Jungle Cruise guy, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh, I do want to get into that too, because we have a shared history. That was my first job. I was in outdoor vending when I was 17.
Yeah. It was it was an awesome gig.
You grew up in Orange County, and what was your, what in terms of your family's journey to America and the immigration story, how does that
actually play out? Both of my parents grew up in LA. Like they were both born in Los Angeles, and all of my grandparents are from China. And the funny thing is that my parents they grew up around Chinatown and LA, and then they moved out to raise us in the suburbs. And then me and my sister moved back to LA and had kids. And then my parents had to move back to LA to be with us. So it's funny.
So your parents migrated from China, and where did they land? They landed in LA and set up life in Chinatown in LA. And so your parents grew up as first generation Angelinos in Chinatown, and then got you guys down to Orange County.
My mom always tells me about going to, how they used to go to El Cholo and get taquitos in Alvaro Street and go to, so they very old school LA.
Yeah. Well, then that must be an interesting. I'm sure their story's fascinating too. Just growing up first generation Chinese American, and this would have been closer into that 50s and 60s sort of time in LA, where there was still so much segregation, so much racism.
Yeah, totally. I remember my dad. I think my grandfather was kind of a bummer, so he split. When he was 17, he joined the Air Force. My dad joined, and he said he went down to the South and he met all these people from all over the place, and he didn't know which drinking fountain to drink out of. Color, white. It was different in every town. Yeah, or where to sit. And he just kind of had to, because there weren't a lot of Asian people down there yet.
And that was probably in between the Korean War and the Vietnam War.
Yeah. That'd be the later 50s. Yeah. He was lucky. He was in between wars. So
interesting.
He got to screw around in Europe and lived in Turkey and Germany and all over the place. But, came back unscathed.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I mean, and again, yeah, it's that kind of the duality of cultures, you know, and being
Yeah.
distinctly American, but not perceived American by,
Oh,
you know,
totally. Yeah.
by other people, and sort
Yeah.
of that
And they
having to sort
both,
of
my
circle that.
parents, they both spoke Chinese, Cantonese,
Hmm.
kind of like the hick version of it, actually. But then, like my brother, sister, and I, none of us grew up speaking it. So we kind of lost it. But
Yeah,
man, kung fu
well,
movies sure are
and that was
cool.
by, and I imagine, and that was by design by your parents. I mean, if your parents, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I
were
mean, when,
interested in passing that on, I mean, that would have been something they would have instilled or had it as a tradition at home. But by that point, I mean, that wasn't even their culture. They were
yeah.
American. So why are they
Yeah.
why are they taking their parents' culture and forcing it on their children? I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't whatever my grandparents were into, I'm not teaching my kids any of that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So, but they were cool. Like my mom, she was a teacher. She taught us how to read and all that stuff. I grew up reading comics. I remember they would take us to the comic book store. And then later on, my dad, he actually took my brother and me to our first concert. So,
Oh, what was
you know,
that? Do you remember who did you see?
well, do you remember the US Festival, like that Steve Wozniak put on?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So we convinced my dad to take us because he thought it would be like a tech fair, but we got to see the Clash. We got to see the last show with
Oh,
Mickey Jones. So
wild. Where was that? Was that out in San Bernardino?
yeah, Glen
Or was
Helen, and
yeah.
yeah, it was wild. Got to see the Clash and Stray Cats and who else? English Beat, Oingo Boingo, Divinals. Just looking back, like wow, that was cool. But really, it's the Clash that changed everything for us. Like a lot of kids probably back then.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge. And then, I mean, and being based in Orange County, I mean, was there a lot of shows and a lot of venues and things you were going to in Orange County?
I remember going to like the Cal State Fullerton gym and we saw like Berlin and Oingo Boingo, but really we would go as soon as a friend of ours got a driver's license, the first friend, and this was back in like the mid 80s. So he had a pickup truck with a camper shell and we would all just pile
Yes.
in the back. Like you don't need seat belts or any of that stuff, right? And I remember
Right.
going like that was the summer, like we would just go to the Palladium like so much because like Susie, PIL, the Cramps, Ramones, like we saw all of them, and then we'd go to
Amazing. Did you see
Fenders.
that Ramones show with Black Flag opening?
No, that
Or
was
was it that there or
slightly.
no? It was before
I
you.
missed. I never
Okay.
got to see Black Flag, um,
Okay.
but well, I saw Cat Flag though, and I
What was
saw.
that?
Oh,
I don't know what that is.
when there was the Black Flag show, the benefits for cats.
Well, that was the Greg Ginn money laundering scheme
Yeah,
he
yeah,
did.
I went to both those
Yeah.
shows.
Okay. Okay, interesting. I just interviewed this writer, Daniel Cohn, who used to write for Spin, who has a book called "Tearing Down the Orange Curtain," and it's all
Oh,
about kind of the
perfect.
history of punk in Orange
Yeah.
County. And
Yeah. Well, I remember
and
driving to like Costa Mesa because that was the only place where you could buy Doc Martens and like
mhm.
London Exchange, I think. And then we went to Zed Records a lot in Long Beach. Like that was like
Okay,
the coolest record store. And then we went to a lot of shows at Fenders also back then. So,
yeah, I remember. Yeah, we had Monkeys to Go in Whittier, or
oh
first they
yeah.
were in in Hacienda Heights, and then Whittier. But yeah, they were the only place that sold like monkey boots or docks and those kinds of things.
Yeah. It was really hard to find that stuff back then, right? Like you would just do that and then go to thrift shops, and that was it.
Yeah.
It was different.
Yeah, I saw Danny Way posting the whole story of the Nana's store,
Oh yeah.
the Santa Monica store, and kind of how they,
Right.
were sort of the ones to bring monkey boots to Southern California. And I think that's almost kind of what you knew them as, like Nana's monkey boots, right? It was like a branding kind of thing,
Yeah,
some
totally.
license
Yeah.
they must have had. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And everyone just seemed so cool that worked there. You're just like, oh man, I'm this square kid. Everyone else is so cool in LA or whatever. But I feel like Long
Yeah, I mean
Beach
it's
was less intimidating going to like Zed for some reason. And 'cause there would be kids working there or Big Frank, and they were all really cool. It was different than like going to I don't know,
Melons.
even Aaron's, right? At the
Oh
old
yeah,
location when it was next to Golden Apple. Like it was a little intimidating then. Or later on, I guess Rhino when I went to UCLA. But yeah, I think so. The first, I guess, introduction to punk is the Clash and seeing all those big shows at the Palladium. But then when I went to UCLA, I actually got into I saw my first Fugazi concert at
Where was that at? What
Reseda, the
show was
country
that?
club, the one with Beat Happening
Whoa.
opening. Yeah,
Whoa,
I got
okay.
the
Yeah,
repeater tour, and then
that's cool. Yeah, Ed Templeton went to that. That's one of the Ed Templeton
yes,
stories. So,
yeah, I
it's
heard him talking
funny
about
to sort of see.
taking pictures there, right? So incredible.
Yeah.
And then, but I think I got into All and the Chemical People and Big Drill Car, big time.
Oh, sure.
I'd go to the Anti Club every other week to see some combination of those bands. And then you start talking to them because they're just regular dudes,
Sure.
Or the Chemical People at least. And yeah, and that kind of broke down like suddenly it's not these guys on a big stage that are so cool and punk rock, but it's oh, they're regular dudes. And then and then Jabberjaw, and then you really get to know people because they're just hanging out on the patio. And
there's no green room. There's really no separation between the audience and the artist.
And I think having friends that put on shows at UCLA was also a big influence on my life. Craig and all them, they worked at campus events, and they actually Green Day stayed at my house because they needed somewhere to crash when they played UCLA. And,
did you remind Billy and Mike of this when you were on when your daughter's band was opening for him on a giant stadium tour?
Yeah, that was really surreal. I brought it up once, and I think they remember. I'm not totally sure. Well, one thing memorable was that they crashed at my house, and then we drove back the next day for them to get paid. And the Mr. T Experience actually played a matinee, so I hung out with them all afternoon. We went to the arcade, and it was fun. But because they're such, they were kids and they were stoners.
Sure.
And they woke up really late. So I was speeding to get there, and I got a traffic ticket with them in my car. So
you got a ticket with Green Day in your car?
Yeah. So maybe they remember that. I don't know. But
that could also just speak to the level of stonerdom that they were in.
Yeah.
If they forget that. I mean, I think if I would have gotten pulled over with some kid driving me that we slept on his floor on tour, I probably would have remembered the getting pulled over part, if not the kid in the house. Because kids in houses and floors you see every day. That's an everyday occurrence on a tour like that. But the getting a ticket would have stood out in my, or at least would have thought oh shit, we're gonna get busted because we're kids with pockets full of weed and
But I honestly when Eloise and her cousins and Bella went on tour with Green Day, I tried not to talk too much about that stuff because it's not about me anymore. I don't want to nose in and be, oh yeah, do you remember this and that? I just kind of stay out of the way and let them interact. And it's not my show anymore.
You're such a good dad. You're such a good dad. If I had that story, I wouldn't let that die. I would have found it.
maybe it'll creep out.
Goes maybe to your selflessness. No, you're about making new memories, not about revisiting old memories.
Yeah, maybe a friend of a friend of a friend will see this podcast and bring it up to them.
Yeah. That's incredible. What awesome experiences just for being in college. But again, it's that kind of thing. You don't know Green Day's Green Day at that point, right? They're just another band. Like you said, of all the bands you're going to see, and Mr. T Experience is going there. Could have just as easily flipped a coin, and Mr. T Experience is the one, selling out football stadiums, and these other guys that were stoned on your floor, went nowhere. I think that's the funniness of hindsight. You look back on it and you're every weirdo that crashed at your house, oh, what if they became the biggest band in the world? Okay.
Yeah, but I think making the zine, I contributed to Flipside because I became friends with Joy Aoki, and she suggested I do that, and that was cool.
Oh yeah, Flipside is huge.
And that was just small, I think show reviews, and I did one interview.
Falling James, right, was a big writer for that.
Yeah, I still see him around. But I think making our own zine and then seeing it, under glass at Jabberjaw, and then I remember I felt like we made it when J Church played at UCLA, and they had a T-shirt that ripped off the back cover of a Giant Robot issue #4. And that image we ripped off from somewhere else, of course. But but yeah, I'm like, wow, we made it. J Church ripped off our thing. And then we became friends, and they stayed at my house. And then, other bands would stay at my house later on as a result.
That's cool. But yeah, that influence within the culture, you're finding yourself being reflected. Your contribution is being reflected back to you. That's incredible. Totally. I mean, but it's really speaking to like the sort of the Asian American presence within this underground scene and sort of the representation that a magazine like Giant Robot had. I mean, it seemed like it was, at least, I'm a few years younger, and coming to it is just like, oh yeah, obviously this is just, it's a given. And I grew up in a small, suburban city in the IE, Walnut, that was experiencing a large influx of specifically Chinese Americans, but also, Filipino and Asian culture from everywhere in the early 90s in Southern California.
Do you consider
very popular?
Do you consider Walnut
population?
Do you consider Walnut to be in the IE? I always thought it was SGV, but I could be wrong.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. It's in the 909. You're right. I mean, we're get the area code. So
okay, you're right.
Maybe it's more San Gabriel Valley. It's
okay.
I think that 57 freeway might be the cutoff, but we're just on the other side of it. So maybe we would be more considered more San Gabriel Valley. I mean, I feel like everything we did, all of my cultural things were more west, focused.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going so much out to the desert. I was trying to come more inland. So it'd be more of that San Gabriel Valley, Pointe Hills.
Right. Was Pomona,
things, Orange County.
Was Pomona?
Yeah, it was on the radar.
Like, were there cool shows yet?
Yeah, I remember growing up. There was a place called a Cup of J, was the coffee shop, and then there was the Haven, which was just down the street from. It was like a little coffee shop where they'd have shows before.
The Haven, it's still there.
House.
The Haven's
still there?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah. Eloise turned me onto it. They still have all the punk shows. It's great. In fact, did you see Nuzzle when they came through town with P? Oh,
I know. I didn't get a chance. I know I had friends that went, and
okay. So they played Zebulon, which was pretty cool, but it was all old people like us. But then, well, like me, you're not as old as me, but old people like me.
I'm in there, yeah.
But then they played the Havian the night before, and I saw videos, and it's just kids like slamming and stage diving and singing along to every single word. It was so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it was right down the street from what would become the Glass House, but so it was like a place to go see shows in Pomona, in that area before the Glass House. And then even, there were shows on the Claremont College campuses and stuff. And then we had Rhino Records and had a little bit of that kind of stuff.
The Green Door was out there too.
Ooh.
I don't know. Claremont or Montclair.
Okay, yeah. I don't think I ever went to it, but yeah.
Oh, I think I saw Angry Samoans out there or something. But
Amazing.
the Linda
they played it where?
At the Haven. It was packed. It was awesome. Like those. It was so much
cool.
Fun. It was like going to a smell show.
I saw John Darnell from the Mountain Goats do a solo show there when I was in high school. I think he was teaching at Claremont College or going to Claremont colleges. And it was before he had a full band with John Worcester and everything. It was just him solo. And it was a great show. It was one of those kind of like eye-opening, like Bob Dylan-y kind of moments of like, whoa, like just one guy in a guitar can be so, enthralling and stripped down and so raw. I loved it.
I wonder if David Foster Wallace went. Wasn't he a professor out there?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have a I don't have a catalog for him in my brain, but maybe.
Okay.
It was Claremont was cool. I mean, that was sort of the cool part of that zone, because it was very college radio, college town with a cool radio station, KSPC, where you guys recently were, right? You guys were at the
K-Space rules. Like I could get it in way better than KXLU. Like
same, exactly. From where I was at too, yeah. So yeah, KSPC was my jam, and then
I remember listening to KSPC and hearing Mad Parade's One Tin Soldier, and then tracking it down because I think they were like a Pomona band, right, or something. So
I don't know. Gosh, yeah. It's so funny. I feel like there's a lot of parallels just a few years apart, and then the Disneyland thing. So was that your first job, or what point did you?
No, I had a job.
Member?
No,
Okay.
I had like, I worked at supermarkets and stuff, but then,
Yeah.
yeah, the summer after my freshman year in college, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for a Disneyland job. And I
And
remember being
did you go out for Jungle Cruise or just any job, just attractions or
just any job, but I remember
yeah.
being extra outgoing because I actually wasn't super talkative or friendly or whatever. I was kind of shy, but I remember just going for it because I'm like, oh, this is Disneyland. I want to try to get on an attraction. I don't want to be
Yeah.
the guy wearing all white with the broom and doing that stuff if I can help it. And then
Yeah.
and then I guess it worked because it turns out I got like there's a pyramid of if you look at the jobs at Disneyland, right? And maybe it starts with sweeping, and then you work at the Emporium or whatever, and then in food you get paid a little bit more, so that's cool. But attractions are the very top of the pyramid. And then at the very tip top of attractions is the Jungle Cruise, because like you're just blabbing the whole time, and you get to wear shorts during the summer, and you get to pack a gun, like it's a real gun. So that's like a real prestige job. And the submarine guys thought they were so cool, but they just introduce you and push a button. Like they didn't talk the whole time.
Yeah. No, I mean, of all the jobs to have at Disneyland, I think
Yeah.
Jungle Cruise Captain is definitely up there.
Yeah.
Of the most
Although,
notable.
it's well documented that it's maybe a little, kind of racist and at the time
the
like,
script or the ride
yeah,
itself or the whole thing.
yeah, back then more so than now. And it
I
was
thought you were
also
going to say
very,
it's well documented that it's minimum wage.
that too. And it was also like even more sexist back then because like
right.
only dudes could do it.
Okay.
And like female had to like do Storybook Land. Like they would have this divide. Yeah, so it was like different back then. But it's
well,
better.
And it was, I mean, yeah, it's how they get, and even the whole cast versus employee delineation gets them around so many, federal and state working, OSHA sort of violations and codes and things, because you're not really an employee, you're a cast member who's playing a role on the stage, and the stage is anywhere in public at the park. So you have to, if you're not acting in character, whatever that's defined to be, then you could be fired or, for not being in character on the stage. It's a very kind of mindfuck sort of, but it works on young people, and especially young people from the area, because now it's it feels like a privilege, and you get to go backstage and you get to know all the secrets. So you're willing to spend an hour before you clock in, parking off-site, bussing in, picking up your wardrobe, changing, walking across the park, and then clocking in. So you have an hour before you're even getting paid, and then doing the same thing in reverse at night every night.
Well, at least back then, we were able to park where California Adventure is back then. So.
Oh, okay, all right.
That helped a little bit.
Did you get to take your wardrobe home, or no? Did you have to check it out?
No, they had you'd check it in and trade it in if it got gross or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a locker room and all that stuff.
Yep.
It was great, but back then, like you could walk right back in the park after your shift and hang out and go meet friends or whatever. It was like way more lax.
Okay. Yeah. Same. I remember that. Yeah. After your shifts, you could go, or even before your shift, you could go and go on the rides and then clock in.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, that's after you're standing all day for 6 or 8 hours in the sun. Like you got to be pretty hardcore to want to do that. So, but it was
I definitely
fun.
Did that
during summer and like the breaks though. It was awesome because it was all like college students, so it was, everyone was just there to, make friends and stuff. So it was very social, and you'd meet, other people kind of your age on break, and it was great. Yeah.
That's super cool. Were there any celebrities that came on your boat?
No, but I remember there was another skipper who was Benny Hill's nephew, and he looked just like him when he smiled. So.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's as close as I got to a celebrity. Yeah.
That's so funny. So yeah, but I mean, we kind of touched on it briefly, but the idea of Giant Robot and like sort of the impact it had on the Asian American kind of underground arts culture. I mean, obviously you were looking to just create something with a friend, but how did you feel that impact as you were making it, or what was the response back from the community? And it was what you were expecting, which was unexpected. I mean, that's something that, like I said, I think I was starting to bring up the idea that it was. Yeah. I'm younger, so I just took it as a given, and there was so much, Asian American influence on all parts of my life, and I'm kind of growing up there, and so but it was so cool. What I thought was so cool at the magazine is it was an art, skate, music magazine, and there was an Asian point of view to it, but everything that it covered was stuff I was interested in anyway, all the stuff that I was stoked on, art wise. And it just sort of felt like it happened. And again, not to express this sort of systematic white privilege that I have, or like, and it just happened to be Asian. It doesn't even feel, but to me, it didn't feel as though it was this like Asian first. It was more art, culture, music, creative magazine. And then, oh, by the way, and there was but to me as a white kid growing up, it's just like, this is I relate 100% to everything in this magazine. I love it. These are my heroes. These are the things I think are awesome, and I want to know more about everything that's happening in here. And the idea of Asian or white or black or anything it didn't enter my brain when I thought about it. I just thought all the stuff you covered was so cool. And I just that was it. That was the end of the sentence. I was like, this is just a cool magazine that talks about cool things with cool people. Oh my God, I'm not this cool. I wish I was this cool.
I love that. We weren't that cool, but I love that.
Well, that's how it came across.
I feel like the first issues, because they were just like stapled and folded, photocopied, black and white, like the only people that would pick those up, you have to be like kind of a punker. Like no one,
sure.
Like just the average Asian schmo, Asian American schmo, they don't care about that stuff. They'll buy People with the cast of Friends on the cover, and they're more
TV
interested.
Guide.
Yeah. Anything else but that. So it was a very, like, I'd say that very few, there weren't a lot of Asian people at those shows back then, but the ones that did, maybe they would be into it if they weren't, I don't know, embarrassed by it or something, I guess. But it was, I'd say that most of our readers were not Asian, and I think it was just Eric and me writing about stuff we liked. And I thought it was really important that it was not just about music or skateboarding or cinema or junk food or travel, but all of those things. Because we were into all that stuff, right? And we're not experts in any of that stuff. Like, we're not, it would be kind of boring and we'd run out of stuff to say maybe if it was just movies.
One of those things.
Yeah. But then maybe as a result, maybe someone who's into movies who buys it for the Chow Yun Fat article would discover Shona Knife or whatever, or the Boredoms, or maybe who's into the Boredoms would like trip out on Yoshitomi Nara or, Takashi Murakami or something. Yeah. And maybe, so it was all a mixture. And then later on, I think, as the magazine progressed and Rick and I were writing about different stuff, we'd touch on things like history, like the Yellow Power movement or Manzanar and stuff like that. I think the whole idea was that this stuff matters and it's cool to know about this stuff. Just like it's cool to have Ken Liu and, I don't know, pro skaters, Willie Santos and Eric Costin, right? It's like, but we'll also do history, we'll also do a little bit of politics. We'll also touch on, identity, I guess, and that sort of thing. And it just kind of happened. And the idea is that the same way a lot of, how, I don't know, like for a lot of suburban kids, Black culture is cool culture. Vato culture is cool culture. Well, why can't Asian culture be cool culture,
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think, you were right there in the dead middle of the epicenter of that, at least from my perspective. I mean, I think I would go to like the Barnes and Nobles or whatever, B. Dalton booksellers, wherever there was a bookstore, and find the magazine section. And I would kind of just plant myself. This was sort of the hobby of the teenage me. And even if I didn't have money to read the magazines, I knew there was magazines I liked, and I would go read them. Or even at the library, I would go and just read like Rolling Stone or Spin. Or if I went to the grocery store, I was always thumbing through magazines because it was that sort of thing, prior to internet, social media, or websites, anything. It was sort of the window to a bigger world.
Yeah, I feel like we were kind of in the sweet spot where all this cool stuff was happening, whether it was the, golden age of Hong Kong movies or, then there was Japanese cinema with Beat Takeshi and, and then after that, there were all these cool Korean movies like Park Chan-wook and Kim Ki-duk. And like, we just caught all these different waves that were happening. on all these bands and super flat art, right?
Yeah.
Well, and we just were there for all the stuff before internet was really huge. And I think that really helped us. Like all this stuff was really cool, but no one was writing about this stuff yet. So for us to be there for it was great. And then if you mix in your friends' bands on top of that, and then, skateboarders, because here we are in Southern California, um, and,
Yeah. I mean,
and cool artists, if we can mix it all in, that's a pretty rad cocktail.
yeah, no, I think the 90s and early aughts were definitely, a fertile time in that culture, and just sort of the emerging sort of sense of design even, and like just the sort of the Japanese design aesthetic and the art coming around that. And even, there was just something that felt like there was more appreciation in this kind of cross-cultural conversations happening in ways across all levels of film, art, music, photography, design. It was really, in this kind of way that it wasn't as segregated, that there was, this anime was, an Asian only experience where that was crossing lines, and, and there's the trades and comic books, and, that it seemed to just be, just a huge, I don't know, crossroads of times for a lot of cultures to cross and sort of influence each other in ways that hadn't necessarily been encouraged, let alone celebrated and sort of championed in the way that I think, you were able to do with Giant Robot.
Yeah, I think two things that come to mind. First is that, I guess the magazines or publications that I thought were our peers or did similar stuff, I guess, they're probably way bigger than us. But, like magazines like Grand Royal and Juxtapose, like those are the ones that we would, or Big Brother, that's the stuff that we were into, not Asian magazines. And then also, I feel like, oh man, what was the second thing I was going to say? It'll come back to me. I can't remember. It was probably
another magazine in that run. I remember, I think we've talked about this too in private too, but the title Tokion was another kind of magazine that had a very Japanese centered thing, and it was like in half Japanese and half in English, but it just brought attention, to an artist. I think, Cornelius was one of the artists I was really paying attention to through Matador Records and his record Phantasma. And just seeing him on the cover of a magazine, like, oh my God, this is so cool. And like, and just the kind of window into that sort of music scene that was happening around him and the kind of Japanese artists at that point.
Yeah, I know what I was thinking is that like the idea that it wasn't just music, not just cinema, not just whatever, but it's, that kind of leads into your whole multi-hyphenate thing also, that, you can geek out on all sorts of stuff. It doesn't have to be just one item, right? So, like already we were like into doing all this different stuff and, not just committing yourself or painting yourself in a corner.
And that's sort of like what X Large or did, or the, not Grand Royal did too, where it was like, this is about records players, they just would kind of cover everything. This one's all about Ben Davis, and it's like, well, they're not a fashion magazine, but they have this thing about this, and they're not a hi-fi components magazine, but they're going to talk about what turntables are cool or different, it's not a film thing, but or they're going to talk about movies they like or this thing. And, but I feel like that was such a short run. What was like 8 issues at the most, 6 issues
for Grand Royal, 6.
Yeah. Grand Royal is really, such a small thing. And yours ran for for 15 years.
Yeah. 68 issues. 16. Well, I feel like for them, that was like a fun side project, and they had like a real business of making music and clothes and stuff. And it was probably hard to justify that sort of staff. And it takes a lot of time, right? Like to write long ass articles and cram charts and sidebars, and like Grand Royal was so dense. Like we really tried to make our magazine just as dense. So you pay $5, but there's a ton of stuff in there, and like you could just read it for like days and still find new stuff. Or you get sick of it and then you pick it back up and read it again when your eyes don't hurt. Like I feel like we put a lot of value into it. So we were lucky that we were there like when all this stuff was happening. It wasn't online yet. People still went to magazine stands. People were like looking for cool stuff, whether it was like from DIY, indie underground, or international stuff. All that, like led to us doing pretty well. And Eric, he was kind of a business guy. His parents were both entrepreneurs, and his mom ran restaurants and his dad was a contractor. So he, of course, he's a business minded person. And, he really grew Giant Robot from like a staple and folded zine to a colorful full size one with international distribution and open to store. And that's how I was able to start doing it full time after a couple of years. Because of the shop.
Not just one store. I mean, did you guys have up to 5 stores at the height
of
it?
Yeah, there was Sawtell, Silver Lake, New York, San Francisco. So yeah, that's a bunch. And then there's 2 on Sawtell, right? GR2 as well, the art gallery. Mm-hmm. And that was really early on with indie art. Like back then in the early 90s, people didn't really think about buying art was something that, you'd go to a gallery and you got to know someone and be rich and get behind the velvet rope or whatever. But this is the time when everyone was buying like expensive sneakers and skateboard decks to hang on the wall. But why don't you buy original art instead? And we had, Eric was really good about, meeting kids that went to Art Center or Cal Arts or comic book conventions, stuff like that. And I think he was really instrumental in, I don't know, like probably the first like indie art gallery in LA.
It was so cool. I remember I went to one of the Post-it note art shows, and it was very affordable. And I bought a Matt Fury Post-it note.
Oh yeah,
it's painted and it's beautiful. But the Post-it notes that you put on your your book or something, like what is that, 2.5 by 2.5 inches?
Yeah,
little tiny Post-it notes, and you would commission or you would invite artists to create Post-it notes, and then was there a flat price for all of them? Were they $20? Were they?
I think they were like $40 maybe. But okay. I think Mark Todd helped. Like Corel,
and those would sell out. I'm sure they sold out within 20 minutes as soon as everybody got there, right?
Yeah, you'd them up. Well, I mean, there'd be hundreds of them on the walls. Then when the gap filled, you put in a new one. But there'd be regulars like, Matt Groening and Dave Cho, and there was like some pretty heavy hitters mixed in there, and I'm sure those went first always.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool scene. It was like exciting. I remember. I loved going to shows. I still love going to shows so much, and I love seeing.
Oh, you're great. You're so supportive. I always see you at shows. That's great.
But then, art for us, like after that Super Flat show came out, I remember that big line outside the Pacific Design Center, and I'm like, wow.
I went.
Yeah, and Toate was DJing, right? Uh-huh. And I'm like, wow, art is cool now too, and that was, it was exciting to go to an art show, and I feel like Giant Robot really like strung that out. Like I swear we had like 5 or 6 issues in a row. Like Eric just interviewed everyone.
Super flat.
And we do a different cover story, starting with going from Nara to Murakami to Groove Visions to Chiho. Like it just went on, and then by the end we're like, okay, we're going to put some local artists on after this, and just keep it going.
Sure. It was so cool. I remember I passed my first semester of Japanese with like barely a C at USC. In my freshman year. It's like you have to take a foreign language, and here I'm like, oh, I want to learn Japanese, and not think I'm carrying a full load of classes, my freshman year at this university, and not know what I was doing. And then I took it in spring, and then I had summer off, and then I went back for the second semester after a summer break of studying nothing and doing no work whatsoever, and then coming back in and like the first 2 weeks were just review, and I remember struggling so hard in the second semester of Japanese at a university level. And then he was like, okay, now we're going to it's the add or drop date, and he's like, okay, now we're going to start learning new stuff. That was just the review. And I was like, wow, oh shit, I'm gonna go ahead and give up here. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this class, because I know I barely got through the review, and then let alone start putting new stuff on my brain. And And I remember dropping the class and then waiting in line to go see that Super Flat show because I lived just down the street on Melrose and La Brea, and waiting in line and seeing the professor, because he was young, he's probably a graduate student. He was like, "Oh, sure, I'll teach Japanese, whatever." And then running into him there, he's like, "Oh, you know about this stuff?" I was like, "Oh, I'm a big fan of these artists, and I'm interested to see it all." We're talking about it, and he's like, "Why did you drop the class?" And I just couldn't have the heart to be like, "Oh, I'm stupid."
Because it's hard.
Yeah, because there's three different alphabets, and I have no cultural connection to the culture. I'm just a fan of weird art and surrealistic noise and visuals. I like noise and weird art. So, but that wasn't going to help me learn more Japanese.
Yeah, we had such a good ride at Giant Robot. Like, I can't believe I got to write about whatever I wanted for 16 years and actually pay the bills for like the last 10 years doing it. I mean, barely. I was never, like as much as you can making a zine, but sure. I was always a pretty as it grew. Person.
Yeah, as the magazine grew, I'm sure the overhead grew relative to it as well. More exposure, more bills.
What's funny is it looked like it was really big and fancy, but it was always in a garage and it was always just a handful of us. We never added people. We never really traveled for it. But you just make friends, and then they have cool friends, and you never run out of stuff to write about. And
that's so cool.
And even now, like I get to travel now and then because of what Eloise does. And just living in LA, I guess.
You've been writing for Razorcake for so long too. I mean, was that something you were doing before Giant Robot and have continued to do to keep a column? Or tell me about your writing for Razorcake.
Well, I mean, Giant Robot ran its course. And I think it was really hard, because it was the death of print, like postage was hard. People weren't all the advertising started going online. Paper was more expensive. Shipping was more expensive. Just less magazine stands, less distro. So eventually, it just bit the dust. And I remember calling friends, like, "Oh man, what should I do?" And I didn't, like when you lose a job, like it's a bummer, but it was more like when your band breaks up or something. I felt like,
this was more personal than just a job. This wasn't just a job. It was from something you started with your friend in your 20s in college to now you're probably in your later 30s and your life has grown. But here's the thing: the foundation of your life is now.
Yeah, it was highly personal, right? Like we didn't time things for when a movie came out or a record. We just wrote about stuff we were into all the time, and like. Everyone we worked with was our friends. Pretty much everyone, so many people that we wrote about, they became friends. And we just had this like community, like all around the country and world, like where, if I travel anywhere now, like there's probably someone that I can have coffee with or whatever that wrote for us or was in the magazine or helped out or whatever, right? Someone really cool doing really amazing stuff. Or, every now and then someone will just walk up to me and go, "Oh my God, I love the Linda Lindas, but, I really, I remember Giant Robot and I really love what you did." And like, it's so cool because came out in print and came and left and it's impossible to get them. Like they're not online. So it's, like a fart in the wind. If you weren't there, you miss it. Right. And I don't know.
It's so funny. I didn't even look it up. Is there not an online archive of everything as not
being
backlog? Oh, interesting.
No. So it's
is there
just
a thought behind that, or a thought to do that, or what is that? Is there a reason?
I don't know.
To do or not?
You'd have to ask Eric, but it probably just takes work. It takes time and money, and he's busy running his gallery and shops.
Sure. So if you find a copy in the wild at a swap meet or somewhere online, grab it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the same thing with old National Geographics or Sports Illustrated. They're still cool to read.
I used to find those everywhere, though. Yeah, I used to find those in giveaway boxes. I loved them.
Oh man,
they were great for making collages. Those old
it's so hard to make a collage.
Great.
It is so hard to make a collage now. I don't even know. It would be so expensive. It used to be the cheapest form of art, and now it's probably the most expensive. But when the magazine bit the dust, it was like a real identity crisis, because I'm like, oh man, this is all I did. But luckily, I was married, so I was a spouse, and I was a parent by then. Eloise was probably like 2. So I just became like, I don't know, I still did everything. Like I still went to all the movies and saw all the bands and supported my friends. But, I just did it. I just dragged Eloise with me everywhere. Like I'd wear her to Amoeba to go see shows, or go to our friends' art things or whatever. It was just us. And it was great. At least I had that. Like I would have been like totally lost if I was a single dude, like without that job, then it would have been really weird. But at least I could like divert all my attentions, so I had those things going for me. And then eventually, Wendy and I started putting on concerts. So that was like the next step, I guess.
So it was Save Music in Chinatown was the
organization
because you founded.
Yeah, because our kids started going to school at Castellar, and they needed money for the music program, and they put out this letter asking for donations. And we're like, there's no way families in Chinatown are going to donate a bunch of dough, because it's very blue collar, very English learning, just not a rich neighborhood. Like it's safe. It's awesome. It's like this little small town right next to downtown. And it's super great school, like rad, safe, awesome school with great teachers. And Eloise was learning Chinese and incredible. But we started putting on like all ages DIY punk matinees because the Hong Kong Cafe was there, right? So to us, it made sense that there was like this history of punk rock in Chinatown. And then there's like these art galleries.
Hong Kong Cafe was where the Senor Fish was, right across the street from the Japanese Cultural Museum. Right? Was that the Hong Kong Cafe?
No. That's the Atomic Cafe you're thinking of.
Atomic Cafe. Okay.
Yeah, which is great too. We became friends with Atomic Nancy and her kid and her daughter Zen actually.
Of course.
Contributed to Giant Robot.
Okay. Yeah.
But the Hong Kong Cafe was actually in the plaza.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, on the second floor of a restaurant. And
I always thought was that the Star? What was it called? The Star?
Oh, the Starwood is actually like on Santa Monica somewhere.
Not Starwood. No, the place that was upstairs. It was a hip hop kind of. I want to call it like Black Star or something, or no.
Oh no, that was a different spot. That was the Good Foot or the Good Luck. Wait, I know what you're talking about. I've been there. Not that hip hop and stuff. But that's actually the location where we did the Save Music in Chinatowns. That was
right
at the Grand Star Jazz Club.
Grand Star Jazz Club. That's what I was thinking of. Okay.
Yeah.
So where was Hong Kong Cafe then? Why do I not know that?
Okay, so if you walk out into the plaza from where the Grand Star was, if you'd walk to the plaza where like Chiang Kai-shek is sitting on that chair, then there's a big open area where like old people are sitting on benches.
Yeah.
So if you're on the one that's going north on the second floor, that's where the Hong Kong Cafe was.
Okay, there was Mountain Bar. There was Mountain Bar.
Yeah, it's in that direction. Yeah.
Okay. Huh. Okay.
And then facing
this is only interesting
east.
For people who've been to shows in Chinatown in LA.
Well, no, I was too young to go during that first wave also, so I wasn't there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, and facing east is where Madame Wong's was.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a cool documentary. You should watch it. KCP put one out. It's about the Chinatown punk wars between the Hong Kong Cafe, where the punkers were, and the Madame Wong's, where the new wavers were. And it's pretty fun.
And they're right across, and they were just across from the plaza from each other.
They were like adjacent in the plaza.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really great. And like,
I saw Sun play at the Mountain Bar upstairs from it. I don't know. I just thought that was but with Neil Hamburger opening, and it was so crowded. There was probably like 300 people in like 100-person capacity room. And it was so sweaty and so packed in there. And it was like Neil Hamburger, and then just a wall of like sound. And then Sun played for an hour.
And Sun didn't even need the smoke machine. No smog machine necessary because there's like so much sweat.
Yeah, so much sweat and I think, you got contact high just from everybody's sweat coming in. There's been so many stoners in one room.
But you know what I loved about doing those Chinatown shows, besides the fact that we, raised a couple bucks for the school, is that I felt like it was cool how we were able to connect to like bands like the Alley Cats and the Dills and Alice Bag and Frank and Channel 3. Like we became friends with all them. But then we would have younger bands, like I don't know, Rough Kids and Schizophonics. And I feel like it kind of, and there was one show that had Adolescence Hurry Up, which had Maggie from The Bangs in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then it had Cringeworthy, which was like one Kamala from Cringer and my cousin's band. And then there was a band called Unhushables with Frank from Brig Joelcar. And oh man, what's the bald guy's name from Supernova? Anyway, yeah, it was like this wild lineup. And I feel like it kind of reminds me of like when you guys started playing with Keith Morris in MacArthur Park.
Yeah.
I thought that was the coolest thing because I felt like you were like No Age was like this connective tissue, but between indie stuff that was going on then and like LA's punk past. And
we had Duke up there with us too. We had Chuck Dukowski on bass.
Yeah, is that how it happened?
2/4 of the original Black Flag.
Did you know Chuck first or Keith or?
No, it was all through Sean Carlson, who was doing the FYF fests. His promotions. He was good friends with Keith Morris, and he was going to promote a show for. He was putting on a show for No Age at the Glenn Levitt Pavilion, or what is that called? The pavilion there in MacArthur Park. It was going to be a free show, and and it was the band Ceremony from Philadelphia opening, and then us, and then Sean just threw it out there like, hey, would you want to play with Keith and Chuck and do like a Black Flag covers? And this was before the band Flag,
this led to
it thing. I think so. I think it had something to do with getting some excitement about it. And so at that point, because the Black Flag legend was large, and as post the Cat, thing, and Henry had said he didn't want anything to do with it, but it was like, well, what about all these other guys? There was a lot of people in Black Flag. It wasn't just Keith and Henry. Like what if, so anyway, that was really fun. So we had to do only songs that Keith sang on. So it's the first 4 years, stuff, and the first Nervous Breakdown. 7-inch in the first 4 years. Yeah. And it was fantastic.
You must have tripped out though. That must have been like such a highlight. You must have been freaking out. Like before you, I can't even believe it.
Yeah, it was nutty because I mean we were at a point where people were giving a shit about our band, which was really fun, and we were looking for ways, I think, to just tap into what we liked or what we were stoked on, I think it was the kind of feeling of like I think we always try to do it in the different waves of attention we got. We try to look for ways in order to enrich what it was that we found valuable at the time. You know what I mean? So I think in the beginning, people were starting to pay attention, and we really championed a lot of our friends that were coming out of the smell in sort of a way of like, if we have our foot in the door, we want to like hold it open long enough for everyone to get through, to get some kind of attention with Mika Miko, Abe Vigoda, and all the bands we could that we're friends with. We wanted all of that to sort of like come to the forefront. And then the second wave, and sort of when the next wave of attention coming for the second album, I think we looked back to our sort of heroes, and sort of in a way, it was also, to big up them, but also in a way for us to be like, oh, can we hang out with our heroes? We played some shows with Bob Mould from Husker Du, and, so it was a bit of one for them and one for us, can we figure out how to like make some weird, like punk rock kid dreams come true for us, at the same time,
Chuck
bringing attention to their cool bands too.
Chuck played a couple of Save Music in Chinatown shows. He played one with the Sextet. And then he came back and played in Worm for us also.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We played with Worm with the Smell as well. Yeah.
I remember Chuck used to call Giant Robot for SST purposes because, he did all the promo.
Right. Yeah. To run ads or to.
Yeah. Or just, to promote a band. Because I don't think they ever advertised. But they would send us CDs now and then.
It doesn't sound right.
But that was great. And it kind of reminds me. It reminds me also of when I, what was I going to say? Something about, I just love how No Age would connect all these different things. I thought it made me really happy.
Well, that's definitely something that your daughter Eloise's incredible band, Linda's, has been doing, it seems like similarly for their whole career, as they do stuff that they always connect with their history.
I know. I know what else that I was going to say. I went to Paris to go see, to go to my cousin's wedding. and you guys were on tour there with Abe Vigoda.
Okay.
And I remember we had just interviewed Abe Vigoda because Ben Clark, who you're friends with, also, he probably took. I think he went on a skate trip with you, taking pictures.
Yeah. We were roommates at our practice space was his like photo studio, and he had a get set up there. Yeah, we've known Ben.
Yeah, and then he was like my number one photographer dude, like a giant robot. Whenever bands would play, I'd invite Ben, or skateboarding or anything. He could do it all. But I remember, so I was in Paris, and we got there that night, and we started walking because I saw you were playing. I'm like, oh, so I was like messaging Abe Vigoda, like, oh man, we got to go see No Age play. So we walked from our hotel all the way to this club, and I feel like it was kind of by a riverbank.
Point Ephemer.
Maybe.
That was the river. Yeah, that's probably where he played. I think that's where he played in Paris for so many times.
And we got there, and we weren't on a list, and we couldn't get in touch with him, and it was sold out. So we were out of
no. You should have just knocked on the backstage. We would have just let you in.
So on one hand, I was very sad. I'm like, oh man. But on the other hand, it's like, of course it's sold out. Like No Age are awesome. And so is Abe Vigoda. And it's so cool that LA bands would sell out a show in Paris. That's rad. I love it that two smell bands would like generate that sort of action in Paris. Yeah. So we were kind of bummed, but also kind of stoked. Because, it's about the scene,
Yeah, that's so funny. What a difference, a few years would make. I can't imagine us being, because I remember all that club we played a lot at. And that's so funny.
Anyway, I remember not seeing that night as much as I remember seeing you at the Smell and places like that.
Yeah. Oh, how funny. Yeah, man. It's a wild ride. I mean, obviously, and then we've hinted at, your daughter Eloise has an incredible band, the Linda Lindas, and many other musical projects that that she's currently working on.
Well, I love that. But even better, both you and I, like, so, Wendy and I went on to do those Save Music in Chinatown shows, and that's how we became friends with Eric Caruso, who does Operation Freedom, because we had this mutual appreciation society sort of, where he liked what we were doing for the music program in Chinatown. So he introduced himself to us. And then we really got into like the stuff he's doing, with art and fifth graders down in Paramount. And that's how you and I became closer, and not just like being a fan or whatever, but taking the next step and doing stuff together and seeing you regularly.
Together, the Operation Creative Freedom, I think I was brought in by Rich Jacobs via Tim Kerr. Kind of a note, getting a note from Tim saying, hey, I'm coming to town to play music at a school. You want to do it? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And not even understanding there was a whole mural project associated with it for years. It's like, why are there all these artists hanging out, taking pictures and hanging out on a Monday at the school? And then I think Eric's like, oh yeah. We spent all weekend painting. I'm like, oh yeah, what?
It's a trip. And not only is there like, Tim and Beth from Texas, and then you got Nat from Indiana, I think, right? And then all these guys, Portland and Japan, Yusuke and High Dutch. It blows my mind that, and it kind of underlines like what I always thought from doing Save Music in Chinatown is that everybody wants to help, everyone wants to make a difference, but someone just has to come up with a cool idea and a cool way for them to do it that's really fun with friends,
Mm-hmm. And point everybody in the same direction.
Yeah, and like Eric and I talk about this all the time. Eric Caruso, like how we don't do shit. Like we're not artists, we're not musicians, but we can help our friends who are super talented come together and do this stuff for kids or for public education, or for the arts, right? And I love it. And I know that, who was it? I can't remember which podcast. Maybe you were talking to Brandon from, oh no, it was the halftime show after Brandon. You were talking to Aaron, saying how your podcast, you talk about how it's like a document of stuff that happens that no one really talks about or remembers. And like, there's going to be all these magazines with like super rad, famous skateboarders and artists, but all this weird stuff we do, like it just kind of comes and goes. And you never know like what effects it makes or when it bounces back until the weirdest times. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Listening to that podcast made me think about it. Like, yeah, we do a lot of cool stuff, and no one even knows, but it doesn't even matter. Like, I feel like the thing about art and punk is you can do stuff, and yeah, it doesn't sell a million copies. It's not on a big stage, but it makes a difference. And sometimes you have to remember that it does.
Yeah, I remember seeing that big Paul McCarthy retrospective at MoCA. I don't know when that was, in the early aughts, maybe 2002, 2001, 2003, somewhere in there. Did you see that show?
No, I missed
the Paul
it.
McCarthy one. It was huge. It was like career spanning retrospective. And there was so much work. And a lot of it's performance art, or it's set based, or it's costume based, or it's prop based. It's not just like he's got a stack of paintings. It's these photos and documentation of just these activations or performances that he'd been doing for decades. And there was, and I was a young man in college or just finishing college, and kind of looking out on that long road of just like, okay, my whole life is ahead of me. Whatever's, here's my short launch. I had this kind of, landing pad where I'm about to jump from, and what's my propulsion going to be? Just what's this engine where's it going to propel me down the road? And looking at his work from a position of like that 5,000 foot view back down to earth and everything he had done, as an older artist, and seeing everything he had done, looking back on his life. And getting the sense that, oh shit, no one cared what he did for most of his life. Most of his career was not a big museum. There was no spotlight on this person, yet he believed or was obsessed or mentally ill or of singular vision enough to keep creating his art, not without there ever seemingly to be a spotlight or anyone else involved. Like he was going to create this 3-dimensional set of surrealistic kind of body horror, body dysmorphic, ketchup, mustard, underwear, nudity kind of, performance art thing. And he was going to document it to nobody. There was no audience for that, yet he would do it, and not just do it once, but over and over and over again, and iterate and create new things and new pieces, not because a gallery was paying him to, not because anyone was even looking at it, but he was just creating a body of work almost in private. And then to see this at this older age, and just see this collection of stuff that just was mind-bogglingly like just I can't understand any of this stuff, and how does this work, and how's this one person, and how do they make so much work? And I think that it becomes clearer in vision and focus as I age. I think it impacted me at that time to be like, I don't know how anybody does that. This is incredible. I don't think I have that kind of work, but something to work towards.
Yeah, it's weird because doing stuff when I was doing Giant Robot, we'd just be in the box all day, like in this little garage working, and we send the magazine out. We don't know where it goes. We don't know who's reading it. We have no idea. And by the time it hits the stands, people are reading it. We're on to the next issue, right?
Yeah.
So you're like working in this vacuum, and you never know if it's who's reading it, if if people like it, who knows? Like no one takes time to write a letter. And then when we were doing, say, Music in Chinatown, like I remember Eloise was in like 3rd grade, and I got really depressed because I thought, oh man, this project's almost halfway over. Like Eloise is going to, move on to the next school. We're going to be done. And like, I don't get it. Like we're having these kick-ass lineups. Like, I don't know, The Crowd just played with Bad Cop and then one of the Flyboys. And then we just had this show with, I don't know, the Alley Cats and Saccharine Trust. And like, why isn't anyone coming? Like, this is the coolest thing. Like, it's in the afternoon. We have these legends playing and cool new bands, and we have cookies. Like, why is there only 150 people? I don't get it. But then I just realized, I'm like, well, it's good. If it was popular, that would be horrible. Because like none of my slacker friends would be able to get in. Like it's all ages and there's little kids there. They wouldn't be able to see shit because it'd just be crowded with all these obnoxious people in front. Like, so I felt like, well, it's okay if it's not big, and it's kind of cool. And you just do what you can, and it's making a difference. And in the end, like we kind of made this community. Like I've got all these friends now that, from bands and things. And I can go around and like every now and then someone will walk up to me and go, "Oh yeah, I missed those shows. Are you ever going to do it?" And like you just don't even know that. Yeah, you're raising some bucks and putting on some shows, but you're also building like a community. And like that's so rare these days, I feel like, especially when we're all on our phones or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for that. And I don't mind working in a vacuum or it not becoming big or whatever. And eventually, when that ran its course, I remember I started writing for, I started writing for Razorcake because I felt like all these people were doing cool things for us in Chinatown. And I figured, oh, well, I may as well interview them and maybe put them in a magazine. So I've started doing that just to stay out there also to get back to writing and interviewing bands and just uplifting cool art and things that my friends do. So that's been really great to have that outlet. And I still make like little zines, to this day. Yeah. And you know what's funny? And I made like I think I made 4 of them for Save Music in Chinatown just to document it, with my photos and some short interviews and stuff. So I've kept making zines all along, and I contribute whenever anyone asks me. Like Amy Yao just asked me to contribute to a Disneyland zine, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So I'm always up for contributing to anything. I don't care how big or small it is. It's awesome. But a couple years ago, I remember I got this note from someone from the 309 Punk Project. Are you familiar with it?
It sounds familiar.
It's this like punk house in Florida. It's in Florida. And there's a book that Aaron Comet Bus co-wrote with an oral history. And they said, hey, we have this writer's retreat thing, and maybe you'd be interested, or coming out, and I said, oh man, I got a job. Sorry, but, keep me in the loop. Maybe I can go out some other time. Well, fast forward to last summer when I no longer had a job. I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? I got time now.
For people to come out. Yeah.
Yeah. What's happening? And they, keep me in the loop. And they said, yeah, sure, for sure. And then from out of nowhere, like they contacted me later on and they said, hey, we have this thing called the Hollow Zine Fest. And it's like a zine festival out in Florida. And we were wondering if you want to be like the keynote speaker. And I'm like,
oh, cool.
I'm like, hell yeah, of course. I'd love to do that. So I'm super excited about doing that. And I'm glad you called or asked me to do this because it helps me organize, and think about some of these topics, like going from contributing to Flipside or whatever, and then doing Giant Robot, and then putting on shows, but still documenting things in zines because I feel like, that's what I do. And now contributing to Razorcake for years. And I feel like all these things that I've been able to do just because of writing for stupid zines that hardly anyone reads, it's amazing, that I could be friends with.
It all adds up to a life.
Yeah, like
it adds up to something.
Yeah, now I can text Randy from No Age and say, hey, there's this alien thing going on. And you're like,
that was so cool.
Yeah.
I was so stoked when you did that.
It's rad because there's people that I consider that are in what I consider to be really big bands or filmmakers or whatever. And they all really, and to them, like Giant Robot meant a lot, or the Save Music and Chinatown shows were a big deal, or, Razorcake matters. And, when you go to Trader Joe's, you're waiting in line with everyone else and they don't know, that doesn't amount to shit. But when you meet the right people, and they're into it, it makes me so happy.
Impact, like, oh shit, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, where can people keep up with you if they want to follow what you're doing and get in touch and support everything you have coming up? What's the best way for people to follow you?
Well, my Instagram account is private, so that doesn't really help.
Yeah. You have a WordPress, right? Do you send people? Yeah,
that's to and I have. I'll probably delete that one day because I feel like I'm not looking for a job or anything, so I don't even need
okay.
But there's a Giant Robot book, Drawn and Quarterly put out a great Giant Robot book.
Amazing. So I'll put a link for that in the show notes.
Yeah, and then there's also that great documentary that Artbound did on Giant Robot. that's worth seeing. And then also the Chinatown Punk Wars documentary is really cool too, and that includes some of our Chinatown stuff. So that was really cool because I was in 2 documentaries in back-to-back years, and I haven't even died or anything yet. Isn't that great? I didn't kill anybody. I haven't died. Just making zines.
Documentaries.
Who would have thought?
Come out.
I'd be on 2 I'm in 2 PBS documentaries with like heavy hitters, like,
and you're still alive.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. And I guess Razorcake.
You need to put that on your. You need to put that on your resume or on a card, like living documentary guest.
Yeah, if I put out a record, that would be on my hype sticker, right? It's that sort of. But
as featured in multiple PBS documentaries.
Yeah, I know what else I need to say is that Razorcake is the 3rd place people should look. Besides those YouTube things, because I feel like nonprofit punk is worth supporting. And this print zine, come on,
absolutely.
And they always and I still
and it's not MRR. It's different.
It's like the one place where I found out. Usually you find out about bands through your friends. This is the other place where I find out. Like I found out about Homefront, Dead Pioneers, Dry Socket. Like all my new favorite bands are pretty much from there.
Cool.
And they do such a good job of like, BIPOC, non-male, not out of California. Just stuff that to balance out your record collection.
It matters. It does.
Yeah. And then I guess I want to say that in all these stages, I've been really lucky that Wendy's been there, because she was the graphic designer at Giant Robot. Mm-hmm. We did shows in Chinatown together. And now, we follow the Lindas around together. It's fucking awesome that, like
you get to see the world's best groupies.
It's not like, I'm a dorky dude who makes zines, but like I actually have a family and like we do all this and I get to take my dad with me, my dad and I flew out to go see the Lindas together. We went on this trip together. I timed it. Okay. So they went on this long ass tour and I didn't have enough days off, but I saw that they were going to Columbus, Ohio, which is where the Billy Ireland Comics Museum is. And they happened to have a Nancy show going on with all this original Ernie Bushmiller stuff on the walls. So I got in touch with them and I arranged like a personal tour, which I could never do just for myself, but because the band was there, they're all fans. So we got to go see all this original art by like Steranko and Kirby and Schultz and Fleener and Tezuka. It blew my mind. Yeah. So we did that, and then we saw some Green Day shows also with Linda. But getting to do that stuff with my dad is cool. Like it's one thing to go see your kid, with your wife, but then if I could see my kid and be with my dad, like that's even radder,
Yeah.
And go to Japan with them. And
if somebody wrote your life in a book, no one would believe it.
Dude, it's all from making stupid.
Right?
And it's all for making stupid zines, to document some scene that you're not even a star in, or I'm not even like a big deal in, but just fandom and trying to support and create, this scene and you're in it, like, come on.
Hey.
Randy reads my zines. That's cool. I love No Age.
Hey, you're on my podcast. That's cool.
And
more than you know.
And then like what? And I met Scott Cornish that way because he does Linda stuff, right? He's like now you're Nervous Action together. Yeah,
he's on his way over. We have practice in a half hour.
Yeah. And then on top of that, Leslie, your bandmate, she played a Giant Robot show way back when.
With the Red Ants.
Yeah, the Red Ants played with Jay Church and Money Mark, Giant Robot show. So it's like, this is a big, fucked up, stupid world, but art and cool culture make it feel small and awesome, And, like I said, I don't make movies or music or art, but I can make a zine and be part of it. And people stay at my house and, you just contribute however you can and be in it.
That's it. Yeah, we all got to do our part. We do our own little thing and our own little fuck up our little corner of the world.
Yeah, we can't all
reverberate.
be Imad Wasif, who's in like 10 awesome bands and looks so cool and mystical. Some of us have to be the
That's true.
dorks making zines.
That is true.
So
Or having podcasts. That's true.
I can't believe you have like Imad, Cornman, Scott Cornish. Yeah, you have the coolest people in your. Yeah,
Well, you're
I really
part of it
like.
too. I know. I need to do some
I
kind
like.
of transcribed zine of this podcast. I'm going into
I
year
like
4.
hearing.
Closing out year 3. I think you're number 51 of the
All right.
third season. I just did a countdown of it, or somewhere
Hey,
in terms of recordings. I don't forget.
I'm
how to
not
get
top
released,
50.
but-
I'm still in your top 100. That's cool.
No, but but there's people. I mean, I have to keep this list long. There was a learning period. There's that like first year was just I didn't want to invite anybody too exciting, or you know what I mean. I would waffle between like trying to find huge people and then also just being like, oh, I suck at this. I don't want to like torture any of my friends. I want to wait till I actually get better at it. Hopefully one day. And then I can interview them. And then I realized that, I'm running out of people. I gotta just interview everybody I know.
I liked your one with Brandon from Crocodiles, because like I see him at Funhouse all the time now, and I know I've been seeing him in Sacred all the time, but I'm just discovering about Crocodiles. Like that's new to me. But I just remembered
you gotta listen to Plot.
I reviewed Plot for Giant Robot way back when, and I didn't realize until now. Like So anyway, like I said, it's just cool to see all these connections. And your podcast,
I love it.
Adds to it.
Oh, well, thank you, Martin, for coming on. I appreciate it. Everybody. Go subscribe to Razorcake and go watch all the great documentaries that Martin is in PBS. There'll be links in the show notes down below. Martin, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and maybe if someone tries to be my friend on Instagram and they're friends with Randy, maybe I'll say yes.
Oh, don't trust that. I let everybody follow me.
Oh, maybe not.
Just because they follow me doesn't mean they have any credentials.
Okay, don't take it personally.
Following me, yeah,
it's not that exciting anyway. Okay, have a good practice. I'll see you Saturday. The show.
Oh yeah, Saturday. There we go. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Yes, Martin, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Everyone, thanks for listening. Thank you for the 3 years. You can try to follow Martin Kendall Wong on Instagram. It's at Martin Kendall, DALL Wong. Or you can go to his WordPress, and maybe there'll be more news there by martinwong.wordpress.com. And be well, everybody. Stay cool. It's hot. It's way too hot here. We're just trying to cool off in this summer heat. Enjoy the summer vibes out there. Remember to drink lots of water. All right. See you next week. Bye.
Like Green Day stayed at my house because they needed somewhere to crash when they played UCLA.